Hello again. We are moving to our second ICQB speaker, and I'm truly pleased to introduce to you our next speaker, Ms. Hiral Vyas Dave. She's an independent software consultant, founder and CEO of the HVD Soft in India. Hiral is supporting board member of ICQB, and she represents the Project Management Institute at a local chapter. She's a valuable part of the software community for more than 2 decades. Hiral trains and consults software professionals and software companies in and outside of India. Her colleagues, business partners, and students recognize her as a technical expert, excellent communicator, avid learner and trainer. Today, we are going to learn from her how well are connected software architecture and software quality assurance. What are the aspects of this connection and where are the challenges? Dear Hiral, please share with us your answers to these questions. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello and namaste to all the fellow professionals who have joined across the globe and spend some time on this session with me today. I'm Hiral, as Valida lightly told, Hiral from India, and I'm here to talk about 2 important topics for any software being developed, that is software architecture and software quality assurance. But before we go into exploring mode, I would like to share some experience, some thoughts about what I used to think about software architecture when I started my journey as a software professional 2 decades ago. I used to constantly think that is it required to have this big documentation called software architecture? Is it really relevant for any of the related departments or the related people who work on the software development lifecycle? But as the time passed by, as I grew in my career as a lead, as a product manager, as a project manager, I started thinking that yes, this is something a very important piece. Earlier, I used to think, yes, software quality is important for a good product to be delivered, but what relevance software architecture has in this world? So it completely changed my thinking as I grew as a professional. And that is where today, just being a software professional, not specific to testing field, still I am here in the testing summit to talk about my very dear topics of software architecture and how it is well connected with software quality assurance. Or is it really connected? That is what we are going to talk about. But before we go so deeper into it, let us see what is software architecture. Software architecture, it's a fundamental organization of software system. It's embodied in its components. These components are having relationship between each other, and also they have relationship to the external world. So the other external entities are as well connected. Now, when we talk about software architecture, about the components, this whole thing is guided by some principles which are useful to design and for the evaluation of software architecture. Software architecture is something which starts from the very beginning of the software development, and it goes long way, not only till the project is over, but even till the maintenance and the production support and everything is going on. So it is a very integral part of the software journey. When we talk about principles which is guiding the design of this whole thing, that is something called a software architecture. It will be with respect to the context in which the system is getting developed. It will be with respect to the system context. And when I think about principle, when I think about standard, one particular word which comes in mind of all of us is nothing but quality. We always try to relate it with quality. So let us see what is quality assurance in general. irrespective of the domain which you are working in, whether it is healthcare, whether it is process industry, whether it is banking sector, finance sector, or you talk about, let's say, software industry. Quality assurance will always have a general kind of definition, which we say that it's a part of quality management, which is more focused on providing the confidence that the requirements are being fulfilled. Now, when we talk about requirements being fulfilled from software architecture point of view, what we consider it as requirements, as a software architect or a software professional, what do we consider as requirements? Requirements could be functional. Functional is something which comes from the business. It is something which comes from various stakeholders who are directly or indirectly related to the software being developed. Not necessarily they are technical. They could be non-technical people as well. What this particular requirement talk about, it says that what the system is supposed to do, right? But then there is a different aspect to it. There is something called as architectural requirement. There is something called as quality attribute requirements, or some say it architectural characteristics. That speaks about how the system should be. One is saying what the system will do, and the another is saying that how the system should be. So we are going to talk more about it. We are going to relate all this thing in coming for some time. But as of now, let's just understand that there are two kinds of requirements. It's functional, it's architectural, and there are some constraints which helps us deal with this whole scenario. Now, when we are talking about quality assurance, we are talking about software architecture. So certainly we should understand what is software quality assurance. Software quality assurance, you all are from that field. Definitely you must be aware of, but I would like to revisit this ISO definitions. It's nothing but some set of activities that we perform, to assess that are we adhering to the standards? Are the standards or the software processes what we are using are used in adequacy? Are they well tailored? Are they well customized as per the software intensive system what we are making? Maybe everything is not required for all the softwares which is being developed. So we need to find out what fits in our context, what fits in the system being developed. And are we really using it in the way that a good development and good modification of the software products can be done? That is what a software quality assurance talks about. So in general, if I say software quality assurance, we talk about standards, we talk about reviews and audits, we talk about testing parts. It revolves around this. And certainly this also starts at a very early stage of software development life cycle. Having said this, if we really want to understand that how do we achieve a good software quality assurance, or how do we test our product very well, how do we do the quality control very well, and how do we overall assure that software is of good quality by utilizing software architecture, that is the first aspect which I'm going to talk in our first section. Another thing is software architecture is such a pillar. It's the fundamental organization. So certainly the quality of that particular software architecture is also very, very important. So in the second section, I'm going to talk about how important is the quality assurance of software architecture and what can you do about it. So let us first understand software quality assurance by utilizing software architecture. What we are going to see here is that why is software architecture so important for a QA professional or a QC professional, I would say. Both have the same theme. So why is it so important? Software architecture, when it starts getting developed, as a software architect, as a professional, he or she either receives the requirements from all the stakeholders or probably receives the functional requirement from the requirements engineering team. Once that requirements are there in hands, not necessarily all the software intensive system which are getting developed have a very clear vision about the requirements which are there. It is possible that requirements may grow on a later stage. We all know this. We all have gone through it, right? So initially when the requirements are in hand, the very first activity what an architect would do is to find out the architecturally very important requirements out of that. Now, what are those requirements? We are going to talk about it. And they also come up with the design goals from that particular given requirement. So having said this, we can say that when software architecture is getting developed, it would be in line to the business and the architectural goals. The business goals would be functional goals coming from the business, while architectural goals is something as a technical person, the tech team along with architect will find it out. They will find it out that which important architectural requirement is to be taken care for the product being developed or a project being executed. It would cover operational and strategic aspect of the system. Operational, we are saying, okay, I have a website development project in which it's a e-shopping. And then in that, what is the operational thing? I will have a product catalog and I will allow my users to make a login and buy the things. That's the operational aspect. But when we talk about strategic aspect, it would be more about how the infrastructure would be. How are we going to handle the deployment of it? So when a software architecture is getting developed, it will have different views of the system, which is very specific to the stakeholders to whom they are showing it. If it is going to management, it will be a high level view which is coming up. If it is going to the infrastructure team, then it will be more about how the deployment environment is going to be. If it is going to the QA team, then it will be more with respect to what should be done at the QA level for this, or what should be done for the testing at this level. So strategic aspect is more on a technical grounds, and we are at that stage, we also think about the architectural requirements, how they will be handled. Functional, we are very, very clear of, but architectural requirements, to list the few, are like performance, we can say scalability, we can talk about availability, reliability. These are the attributes. So whatever architectural requirements we write, they are under certain quality attribute and they are listed under certain quality attribute, which is very much based on the ISO 25010 standard. You are from that background and you must be aware of that. There are various models. As an architect, we also refer this model when we do the design. So there are various models, but ISO 25010 is something which is very, very popular in the market. So whatever architectural requirements are being listed or being designed in a software architecture, they fall under this category, any one of this category, what you see on the screen. So it could be functional suitability, it could be performance efficiency, it could be compatibility, it could be usability, reliability, but it is not required that the system, the software intensive system would require all of them. So as an architect, we figure it out that what is the most relevant out of this lot and in which category does our requirement fall. Which category, or these all are also having subcategories, in which subcategory it falls. Say, for example, if we are developing a desktop application, maybe performance is not a great hit. So in that case, that is not the criteria, right? But maybe in that case, usability is the criteria. So that is how we, after going through the functional requirements, check it out from which slot it is. So this will even help the QA professional. So now we will see how it would be helpful to QA professional. As a QA professional, when you are working on your quality management plan, when you are working on designing the test architecture, certainly you have certain questions. You have certain questions like how many unit tests should be there, what integration testing should be having, right? Is the regression testing required? If there is a control, do we need to test that control in all the file modules where it is being used, or it is to be tested at a very limited amount, or if one testing is done, it's okay. So these are the kind of questions which will come to you. You will also think, is the manual testing sufficient enough, or you want to go for the automated testing? Are any testing tools required to do the testing? which kind of priority you should be giving to the test cases. When you write the test cases also, you should be very clear that what are the functional requirements, but you should be more clear about what are the architectural requirements, because that is the sole achievement of a software being successful. When you should also be aware about what are the test constraints, or what infrastructure you would be requiring, what would be the sequence of the test what you are doing. So when you plan all this, if you refer to a well designed software architecture, you will find most of the answers from it. Most of the answers would be there. Reason being, the architecture is kind of a reference point for many of the stakeholders, and I would say almost all of the stakeholders, to understand that how exactly the system is going to function, or how exactly the system is going to be. So it gives you a wholesome view of the software intensive system which is being developed. Now, before I take you forward, I would like to share one of my personal experience. Like few years ago, I was given one of the product to manage, and it was a predictive analytics software which I was supposed to manage. So when I got involved into it, every release used to find some bugs. Every release used to have some or other issue coming up in the production. Some issues happening when the testing was done. And there was a repetitive area where issues were seen. So we were kind of worried, because testers were very experienced, they were skilled, they were certified. In the similar way, even the developers, the tech team, everybody they were quite skilled. They were all good on their own work. But then what was going wrong? So we kind of did an analysis about it. Like we spent some 1 or 2 releases we saw. We spent around like 3 to 6 months of time to figure out that where exactly it is going wrong. And to my surprise, I could see 2 gaps there. The first gap was the QA team was not so religiously following or not referring the software architecture when it came to writing the test cases. And you all know, right, when it is a predictive analytics software, the way you have to deal the testing is with the history. Sometimes data is such a sensitive thing in that you might not get it from your customer, and as a result you have to generate a lot of data, probably by simulating in your own environment, which was not happening. So there was a situation where we were supposed to create a factory like scenario, maybe 2 or 3 motors we were supposed to keep, and we were supposed to get some good amount of the records so that we can test that. That was not happening. So when the volume of data was so high in the production environment, the things were failing, because that kind of test we could not perform here. Reason being, how the infrastructure of the testing should be was not so very clear. A lot of UI testing was being done, but a lot of functionality testing was being done. But this is one major part which was not given that due importance. So then we did that kind of setup. We realized that this was the need of the hour, and we started seeing results out of it. So this is one area where it was very important for a QA professional to remain connected to software architecture. Another area, another gap what we saw, was the software architecture was not up to date. It was not current. I completely understand. We as a software engineering professionals many a times miss out the importance of this quality attributes what I was talking about, or the architectural aspect what I was talking about. And as a result, the need of the hour was also to keep the software architecture updated. So we started parallelly doing both the things, and we could see good results. And today that product is very well running in the market. In many of the places it is doing so well. So having said this, I would say that software architecture and software quality assurance, they go hand in hand. Communication, coordination is the key. For a QA, QC, or tester, software architect is a contact person, and they all should be exchanging their views with each other. They all should be referring their documents, and collectively they could lead towards a successful and a sustainable software. So that is what I would say, that they are very well connected and they should remain connected. So these teams should not be working in the isolation, or not just few emails should solve the issue, but they should be closely working with each other. That is what I would like to convey to all of you at the end of this first section. Now, the second gap, what we talked about, that software architecture was not up to the mark or up to date. So what should we be doing for that? That is the next section we are going to talk about. But before I jump into that, I want you guys to do some interactive thing. And whoever is there, I would like you to start a website called menti.com. It's an interactive site, and I will right away tell you the code which is to be added. And then we can go to this fun part. So I have two questions for all of you. I have started the thing, and the code which you should be adding is 6544 0422. And here I am starting it now. Do you refer software architecture for your projects or products? I'm expecting some answers. You have just 25 seconds to go. Okay, there is one yes and one sometimes. Okay, great. So if you are using a software architecture, my next question is going to be, can you mention some benefits that you have got in software system using this software architecture as a reference? You can write just one or two keywords, whatever you feel like. Any answers coming up? What would be the benefit that you have got in your software system using software architecture as a reference? No benefit? Nobody sees the benefit? Okay, we have already seen the benefits which were there, and let's move on to the further section what we have. So here we are going to talk about quality assurance of a software architecture. We saw that first gap, how we can fill in. The second gap, what we saw was the software architecture was not well evaluated on, it was not up to the mark. So that is where it is important that not only the software quality is important, but the quality of a software architecture is as well very important. Architecture is a pillar. And if we are not having a quality software architecture, it would certainly lead to technical debts coming up, architectural erosion would occur, and at the end, you all know, it's your software is going to rot, or it's going to die down its own way. So we don't want to do that. We want that as an architect, the degeneration of the software or degradation of the software, what is happening, has to happen in a better way. That is where the quality assurance of the software architecture comes into the picture. What is involved into it? It would involve architecture evaluation. So we will see how you evaluate a software architecture. It will help manage the architecture well. You know, if you keep the evaluation going on, then you can keep the architecture as well up to the mark and current. It will certainly help us to inline whatever is the requirement given by us to the business, and whatever architectural goals we have decided, it will keep us to keep everything in line. So idea is to ensure that whatever architecture decisions you have taken, are they up to the mark or not? Are they fulfilling the required results or not? That is what we want to find out when we are evaluating a software architecture. In the software architecture evaluation, there are two parts. One is we are doing quantitative analysis and another is qualitative analysis. For this session, I am going to concentrate more on the qualitative analysis part, but I will quickly tell you the quantitative analysis is measurable. It's in metrics. Many of you might have done psychometric testing or cognitive complexity. You might have tested about lines of code. So there are so many different metrics which you can use to do the quantitative analysis of a software architecture. It would also help us find out the coupling in the code. So to an extent, we can reduce the coupling, or we can go to architectural decision where we can come up with the loose coupling concept. But that is more about quantitative analysis. When we talk about qualitative analysis, here we are assessing if the given architecture can meet the desired quality attribute goals of a system or not. So it's more about our risk identification, and if we are completely talking about the architectural requirements like performance, availability, security, what we saw in the ISO 25010 standard. So that is what we are checking when we are doing the qualitative analysis. Now, what is involved into this qualitative analysis? How do we go about it? What do we do into it? There is a popular methodology. The popular methodology is ATAM, which we say architecture trade-off analysis method. Now, it is important for us to understand what is trade-off. Why are we saying that trade-off analysis is important? Let's say for a given project, your top three architecture characteristics or the requirements you thought about when you were initially making the design were performance, availability, and security. These are the three things you thought it is important for your software intensive system. At that stage, let's say performance, for performance, the important sensitive point is going to be number of servers. In the same way, if we talk about availability, even number of servers would result in a positive support for it. While when we talk about security, if the number of servers are increased, in that case, there is a threat of security attack or more attack coming up. As a result, for you, performance availability is also important. For you, security is also important. How do you balance this? This is where we say that two quality attributes or two architectural requirements, what we are talking about, these are high level architecture requirements. You would be writing precise requirements in something called as scenarios and something called as a quality tree. What we make, you will be writing very precisely saying the page should load in 60 milliseconds. It's a very precise thing, but overall we are talking about performance, right? In terms of throughput and latency we are talking about. So here number of servers is when it is an advantage to availability or performance, it is a disadvantage to security. So how do you balance this? There is a trade-off between these two quality attributes what you have. That is what we need to find out, and that is why we do this architecture trade-off analysis, and then we find out what is the best solution out of it, what should be the best architectural decision for it. So the whole exercise what we do here, that involves many parties, and the next we are just going to see what are the steps involved into it. What are this whole methodology was found out by Carnegie University, Software Engineering Institute, USA, and it is well practiced in the market. There are teams in the software company which take care of the whole ATOM process before the implementation of it starts. So actually on early stages, if we come to know about the risk, then we can take the action without more of the cost going behind it, right? So benefit is it is going to improve the architecture documentation, early risk we can find out, and of course the communication between the stakeholders would increase. Reason being, the whole steps which are there are 7 to 9 steps involved into it. We are not going to go deep into it, but this is just for everybody's knowledge that there are 7 to 9 steps involved into it, and then in that we collect the scenarios which I talked about, that what are the changing scenarios which are there, or what are the trade-offs. When there are trade-offs, then how we need to deal with it. The whole cycle is collecting the scenarios, collecting the architectural requirements. Then as I told you in the beginning itself that there is views are there. And then when we are talking about the attributes, they could be Like for our internal use, they could be external. When I say performance, availability, they are all external, may be very useful for the stakeholders from business point of view. From internal point of view, as a tech team, probably you would like to develop a system which is more maintainable. So it's an internal requirement. We may compromise on that. Portability, if we talk about, or a scalability, what we talk about, that could be our internal requirement as a tech team, as a development team, as a QA team. So these all things we need to balance, and this whole process, what we do is to evaluate the architecture against whatever we have defined. Is it fulfilling it or not? If not, then we rework on it, we analyze, we bring in software architecture, which is the first draft which is developed. We bring in all the functional requirements, we call the respective stakeholders and do this whole evaluation process together to come to a final software architecture. Not, I would not say even final, but the one which can go under the implementation, for which a development can be started. Gradually, this process should be done over the period of time, so that we can have a sustainable software for a longer period of time. The idea is that be an atom. There are many tools available to do this. Other than atom, there are other, like another methodology called cost benefit analysis method is as well there. But it's up to what your organizational needs are, what your environment needs are, and you can go ahead with that. This section is probably so for some of you it might be new, for some of you it might be known, but this is something which a software professionals or a QA professionals should explore. They can have their career into it, they can build good knowledge into it, and other than just doing the functional testing, you can also explore this part of it. Now, in the interest of time, I will not take you through the questions. There are a few questions. If you want to answer, you can answer in the chat window. We will not go to the Mentimeter. But there are a few questions for you, that have you ever worked on the software architecture evaluation for your assignments? Yes or no, you may send the message to us later on. Another question what I had for all of you is you can mention the benefits that you got by evaluating your software architecture. And the third question what I had for all of you is, would you like to explore more on the software architecture evaluation process? So I would like to answer the last question for you. Anybody who is interested in like exploring more about what the software architecture evaluation process is all about, there are courses available in the market. And being member of ISAQB, I would just like to share with you that there is a certified professional for software architecture certification, and we have an advanced level module called RCIVAL that particularly concentrates, or that particularly gives you idea about what the software architecture evaluation is all about. You can learn the skills for it. Anybody interested could go to isaqb.org website and you can get more information over there. To remain connected with me, you can. I am there on LinkedIn. I'm there on Twitter. My website, hvdsoft, hiralvyasdave.com is there. You can get the contact details from there. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm there on social media. So it would be glad if I can connect and be helpful to you at any point of time. On the end note, I would say software quality assurance and software architecture, or quality assurance of software architecture, both of the things are very valuable things, and they should be done for any software intensive system, whether it is a critical software intensive system or it is non-critical. They should be practiced well, and they should be done in coordination with each other. They are like siblings. They are together in one family, which is called as software development process. With this, I would like to end my session and open up for question answer if there are any. And before I go to the question answer, I would like to mention special thanks to all you attendees who took time to come today and be part of this session. Special thank you to ISQI team to promote, like to allow me to be here, A4Q Summit team to encourage me to be here, And ISAQB is always a family. So thank you to ISAQB team and everyone for all the support to conduct this session. So I thank all of you, and we are now open to question and answer. Over to you, Valida. Do we have any questions, anything?
I want to thank you in name of all of us that you mentioned. It was really great to hear your presentation. So much information new to many of us attendees, as I see from questions. First question was actually that many of attendees just didn't get the code for Menticom. So in the moment that you're telling it, there were just not enough quick. So can you tell us once again, please, so I can pause it?
You want me to run the whole thing again? I can do that. If there are attendees and they want to do the quiz, I can do the quiz for SQA and QA both.
That means you have to be present and to follow up on that, or?
Yeah, no, they can see my screen is up, and I can run the presentation again for all of them.
It would be good because there are several attendees asked for the code. They didn't catch it.
Okay, so let me do one thing. I would quickly, I need to actually reset because some of them did it. So give me a moment.
Of course.
I will run the test again.
Meanwhile, I want to thank you that you emphasized the importance of software architecture, software assurance quality, and certification. And also, I would like to add, for any further question for the certification, please just go to isky.org, and there are plenty of answers on this question as well.
Okay, so let me just run this one. Hold on. Okay, I have this. I'm fine if they see it, not a problem. It's an interesting tool, and yeah, let me just share with them SQA again.
That's great. Thank you for this.
Yeah. It takes a while, but it's interesting one. So let's run this again. Okay. So the code is 65440-422.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think everybody is able to see the screen.
Yes.
And we will run both the quiz, this one and the another one. They can try to attempt it. I have not reset the last results, but yeah, I think you should be in a position to add. This happens with Menti, this happens.
Okay.
Okay, good. Is anybody able to enter the answer to this? Because only you will be in a position to tell me. Maybe I can run parallelly in my phone as well.
No, for now, there are no answers that I can see here.
Okay, so let me go to the next question. Most of them said yes. So let's go to the next question. Maybe they can enjoy this. Mention the benefits that you got in your software system using software architecture as a reference. You can enter maybe 3 words, whatever you have felt like benefit. If you have referred software architecture in your product, okay, world. Is it really world, love, family? No, come on. Say something which is technical. What's the benefit you got in your software system using software architecture as a reference? You could have found some success, something like better test cases you could write. Yeah, better test cases you could write. Anything else? Something like you could plan your test very well. You could write a good test architecture. These are all the benefits of it. You could take decision on whether you should go for automated or the manual testing. So these are the benefits which you get out of when you have this software architecture as a reference. Now let me take you to another quiz. Yeah, this is the end of this particular quiz, but we can do the another one if they are interested. We have some time.
We have some time, but we have also another question just for you to know.
Okay. So you want me to take the question? We can go ahead with that. Yeah, please.
Okay, if you're fine with that. So there is one attendee that she or he said, I'm 5 years expert in quality profession. I would like to explore my chances in software evaluation process. Would you recommend this to me?
Yes, of course. If you're 5 years experienced, it's a time you can also start looking at how the software architectures are getting developed, and gradually, maybe after 2 or 3 years of time, you can move towards evaluating the software. That's the second section which I talked about. The second section, when I said quality assurance of software architecture, that's the area a QA professional can definitely look into, because it is required. And as I said, there are dedicated teams in bigger organizations who do this before the actual implementation of the software architecture starts, when all the technical things starts. So yes, it's a good thing. You should go, and as La Valida mentioned, it's on ISKI website, it's available. You can go to ISAQB website and look for that kind of course. It's an advanced level course which is there.
Yeah, more than welcome. Go for it. There is one more question. Oh, this is quite interesting. What is a future of quality assurance in machine learning?
Okay. See, I was talking about predictive analytics software some time back, right? So machine learning or AI, when we say predictive analytics, they're not very old kind of thing, they are there from a decade, more than a decade, but still we can't say it's that old as the industry is. And so there is a lot of potential to explore this area. And the way the testing happens, it's not only the functional testing which is happening over there. Reason being, there is a lot of data, there is a lot of algorithm which needs to be tested, and that requires different level of skills. It's not just going through the UI and checking out that whether the button is fine, or on a button click whether we are getting the right message or not. That's not only the thing which comes up. It requires some sort of technical expertise from your level as well. So it talks about testing the algorithms. It talks about, if the volume of data increases, then what happens? So there is, as I said, there are high-end critical equipments sometimes in this kind of system. It's a vast thing which can be explored, and certainly there are a lot of researchers going on. New things are coming up, and it's an excellent area to work about. Even in the software architecture field, there is a lot of research going on, that if it's a machine learning project or product, then how do we write architectures for it? What is the pattern we can write for it, or is there any specific pattern, or the mix of the pattern we should use, or we can have our own solution? So it's really a very interesting area for whole software industry to explore. Yeah, I would say that.
Thank you for answering this. There are no further questions at the moment. I have to admit, Hiral, now I really understand your students when they say they really have a fun learning from you. So it was really pleasure listening to you, going through these quizzes. If there are any further questions from attendees who are listening now, and maybe they will have some question later, I guess they're more than welcome to write directly to Hiral or write to us, to A4Q. We will forward the question and deliver the answers as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I guess it would be that from our side. Hiral, do you have some final words for us, and then it's goodbye.
Yeah, thank you to all of you, and I'm really glad to see the kind of things are happening in the world specific to testing summit happening. I'm glad to see this. It's great organized thing. Thank you for having me here.
We are glad that you were part of this, a valuable part of this, as well as Carol. And thank you for ISAQB for being our sponsor and for letting us to have two wonderful, great speakers today.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and have a nice time. Okay.
Have a nice day as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.